One of the main mistakes people normally do is they mistaken critical writing with descriptive writing. And descriptive writing and critical writing should by no means be put under the same umbrella or under the same category, because they serve two different purposes, if that makes any sense. So in order to not mess this up, you need to remember two things. So what you need to remember from this is understand firstly what critical writing is. So critical writing involves guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you so much for joining me once again back onto my channel. My name is Belinda, and if you've not already subscribed, please don't forget to press the subscribe button as well as turn on your notification bell so you get a notification every time I upload. This is a nursing based channel, all things nursing as well as other bits and pieces as well. As you read from the title of this video, guys, I'm back again with another nursing video. This time around, guys, I'm talking about critical writing. I really thought that I should go ahead and do this video. There's been a couple of people who have been asking me about critical writing, how to go about, and I thought to myself, I'm gonna try and make this video as easy as possible. Obviously in this video, guys, we're going to be talking about what critical writing is, how do you write critically, and then as well as differentiating between critical writing as well as descriptive writing, because it's very important to know the difference between the two, because sometimes people get mixed up with the two, and if you can't differentiate between the two when writing an academic piece, it can lead to you obviously failing and not meeting the learning outcomes or the module guidelines that you were supposed to meet to get the adequate pass mark, to say the least. Okay, now in regards to critical writing, although I'm going to be specifically talking about nursing because I'm a nursing student obviously, however, even if you are not a nursing student, what I'm about to say in this video can apply to you as well. So without any further ado, if you're interested in knowing more about critical writing, please keep on watching. So the first point that I'm going to be discussing obviously is what is critical writing. What does critical writing involve? It's very important to know what it involves, because whatever it does involve is basically what you are going to use to write, if that makes any sense. So in short definition, critical writing rather involves you developing an argument or a point of view with supported concrete evidence. It's very, very important. That is your definition of critical writing. In other words, critical writing can be looked at as an academic debate in a way. Okay, so critical writing involves a writing that obviously analyzes and evaluates information from multiple various sources that you have obtained, and then develop an argument or rather point of view. Okay, now the mistake that many people do in a critical writing piece is that they are under the impression that you have to agree with what you read. However, this is not the case. You don't always have to agree with what you read. It is basically up to you, as well as the information that you have collected, that will either let you be for the idea or against the idea in a way. So by no means should you think that because you collected certain idea and so 2009 said this, you have to agree with the source. This is now where critical writing comes in, okay, to obviously not agree with what's being said and then bring your points across in an argumentative way, obviously academic argumentative way, but obviously supporting it with substantial evidence. In nursing, we call it nursing based evidence. Maybe you will have heard of those words, or you will still probably come across it. That's what they will normally ask you to, back up with information. So it is very, very important that whatever topic you do decide to talk about, it's very important to read around the topic so you can be able to have a deep sense of understanding, because understanding what you read will make it easier for you to put things into perspective when writing. However, I do want to say, when you are writing for and against, it is very important to remain neutral. You don't want to come across sounding biased. So in a way, although you might have chosen against, you still have to evaluate the other side. So in other words, if there's a fence between the two, just sit a bit on the fence, if that makes any sense, because if you are going too much on one side, it's going to sound like you're biased. So you have to find a balance. So while I'm still talking about what is critical writing, I do want to obviously bring in this viewpoint. When writing a critical writing piece, it is very important to choose the phrases that you use. When markers are marking your assignments, they normally go ahead and look for certain phrases, okay? Certain phrases that will determine whether you're on the against side, which is the argument side, or you are on the supporting side in regards to information you have obtained. So in other words, it's very important to choose the phrase that you use to determine whether you are in agreement with the information or not. So I'll try and insert some comparing and contrasting phrases, most commonly used phrases. So it would include words like however, on the other hand, in contrary, but, despite, whereas, although. These are mainly your most commonly used phrases that you would use if you are contrasting information in an academic assignment piece. Now, using these phrases, like I said before, will determine to your reader whether you are basically developing an argumentative assignment, or obviously you are creating an assignment in agreement with what information you have obtained. Now, what I want to do is, because sometimes explaining can be a bit difficult, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys a piece from my dissertation that I have just recently wrote and submitted. So I've got a whole dissertation video out for you guys in regards to, you know, how to get high marks for your dissertation. So if you are interested in that, I'll leave it somewhere up here, okay, and down in the description box below. If you're interested, you can go ahead and watch that video after this video. But anyway, so the title of my dissertation was "Does Education Improve Type 2 Diabetes Self-Management and Related Outcomes? A Systematic Review of the Past 5 Years." That was my title of my dissertation, okay? Now, out of my dissertation, I just pulled out a piece in my dissertation so I can just show you guys what I mean by comparing and contrasting information. So it starts like this: moreover. So first things first, moreover would be like adding additional information. It would be the same like as if you would say in addition to, okay? So that's like adding more information. So this is clearly me adding more information to what I initially said before. So it would say, moreover, exposure to self-management education was also interconnected with the theories of self-determination and social learning as patients observed newfound autonomy and confidence in managing their own health as a means to gaining control over their lives and future outcomes. Okay, so this is Skinner in 2003. Now the next line that I'm going to go into is basically me contrasting, okay? Now, before I go ahead and read, so what I want you guys to remember is when you obtain information from a source, it's always important to obviously pick out the strength and the weakness of that source. By means of picking out the strength and weakness, you can also basically build an argumentative critical piece, if that makes any sense. So next part, I go ahead and say, however, it was recognized that failure to incorporate person-centered care into self-management education attenuate the ability to improve patient self-efficiency levels and thus obstructing the emergence of social learning and self-determination theory among some results evaluated herein. So that once again is from Skinner, the same source. Now you might be looking at this and you say, well, but they are the same references. Yes, they are the same references. All I did basically was just point out the weakness of that specific information. So basically, guys, that is just me showing you guys what is critical writing, okay? The next part is part 2 of this video, guys. I want to talk about how do you go ahead and write the critical writing piece, because it's very important to get the correct structure, the correct format in order to build your information. So first things first, prior to obviously starting to write a piece, you need various reliable sources in order to obviously develop your argument, if that makes any sense. So it is very important to know that when you are doing a critical writing, you cannot rely on your own personal opinion or viewpoint only, okay? So in other words, you need to be able to gather information in order to determine what others are saying about the topic that you have basically chosen to write about. In addition to that, it is merely not enough to only use a single source. In order for your argumentative critical writing to be validated, it's important to use various sources. So you need to pick various sources in order to develop your argument. Like I said before, initially at the beginning, only having sources that support your idea can lead you to being biased, and that will have an impact on the outcomes of your assignment, if that makes any sense. Now, obtaining sources is just the starting point of doing a critical writing piece. The second part that you want to do in regards to how to write is to be able to gather the information that you've gathered, okay, and be able to obviously analyze and evaluate. It is very, very important to be able to understand how to analyze and evaluate. So you don't just read the information to just say, okay, I've read it, but what is it all about? What is the main point? That is basically analyzing and evaluating. In addition to that, analyzing and evaluating an article involves picking out the strengths and weaknesses of that specific article or source you've decided to use. So in other words, when you collect source, you need to be able to take the information that you have and start breaking it down to be able to determine how the various, sources or points relate or link to each other, if that makes any sense. And by doing that, that's basically you analyzing your information. So analysis or analyzing basically is determining what is the article about, or what are you reading. That's analyzing, okay? What is the message that they want to bring across? That's analyzing. And then obviously, like I said, evaluating or evaluation is basically you bringing out the strength and weakness that can be determined or classified as evaluation. Alright guys, so next I want us to be discussing the difference between critical writing as well as descriptive writing. One of the main mistakes people normally do is they mistaken critical writing with descriptive writing. And descriptive writing and critical writing should by no means be put under the same umbrella or under the same category, because they serve two different purposes, if that makes any sense. So as described at the beginning of this video, critical writing involves developing an argument or point of view with supported relevant evidence, whereas descriptive writing, it's like it says from its word descriptive, so it describes. So descriptive writing is like describing something or describing a background to something, okay, or to certain information. Now, most assignments that I have personally come across expect a minimum of descriptive writing. Now, what I mean by this is the most chunk lies in critical writing, a small part lies in descriptive writing. So what you need to know is when writing an academic piece, you need to prioritize critical writing above descriptive writing, because critical writing lies the most in it, and that's where most of your marks would come from. So obviously, if you are given a word count, which you most probably will, because most assignments you are given a word count, use your word count wisely. I would say roughly about 85% should be critical writing and 15% should be descriptive writing. So from my personal experience, sometimes you get feedback after the markers have marked your assignments, and you normally get feedback, maybe they say you explain too much or you have added too much theory and you need to analyze more. Then you know that you basically used more of descriptive writing than critical writing. There's a fine line between the two, and you need to be able to differentiate between the two, because that will help you to get your marks, your high marks, or even a pass, to say the least. So in other words, you need to be critiquing rather than describing. So it can get very frustrating. I know this personally. So what you need to remember from this is understand firstly what critical writing is, okay? So once you understand the terminology and what is expected from you in regards to critical writing, it's so much easier. Secondly, you need to find a balance between critical writing and descriptive writing, like I said. So in other words, maximize the amount of critical writing you use and minimize the amount of descriptive writing you use, if that makes any sense. Anyway guys, so this brings me to the end of my video. And so once again, like I said, practice really makes perfect. It is very, very important, to learn and know how to write assignments thoroughly, for the university point of view. Like I said, once you know what critical writing is and obviously practicing it, it will become so much easier for you to basically put it all in an essay form. Yeah, so basically this is all I wanted to discuss in this video, guys. I really hope this video was helpful, and if you don't understand anything further, please do let me know, and I will hopefully be able to explain it more clearer than what I did now, and to the best of my ability, obviously. And yes guys, this brings me to the end of my video. Please don't forget to comment, like and subscribe. Any other future videos you would like me to do, please comment that down below, and I will hopefully see you guys in my next video. Bye.